Hey guys, it's Maxine. Thank you so much for watching. I just wanted to sit down and do like a Q&A video just dedicated to the question how to do a color fill. I just came out with a Q&A video on my channel basically answering a lot of the questions that I get on my color fill videos. So I wanted to address a lot of those videos, but then I realized I wanted to come out with a Q&A video just dedicated to that question, what is a color fill and how to do a color fill, just surrounding the whole concept of a color fill, because I know it's not really taught that much in schools. I remember when I was going to school, I don't even think we learned about how to do a color fill. So I really wanted to come out with a dedicated video of the whole science behind it, even though I really explain in detail on all of my color fill videos. I just figured I wanted to do kind of a chatting video and just explain it. And so if you've already seen my color fill videos, you might hear a lot of the same things I've already explained on how to do it. But if you haven't seen those videos, then definitely check them out. I'll link all my color fill videos in this description in this video. But yeah, I just wanted to come out with this video to hopefully, I don't know, just go into detail about it and explain it so you can hear it. You can hear all about how to do a color fill and exactly what it is, on a different video without actually having to watch me do hair. But yeah, so it's kind of more of a chit chat video, but basically, yeah, that's the gist of today's video. And definitely subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up if you are liking these Q&A videos. Like I said, I just came out with the Q&A video, so definitely check it out. I answered a lot of questions that I get on those videos. But yeah, if you want to watch this Q&A video, then definitely keep watching.
And we ain't got nothing, gotta do something, get it right. Gonna keep on running, grab the fun and live it light. And tomorrow's far away, should I let the party fade? And we ain't got nothing, gotta do something, let us on tonight.
I was trying to think of a cute name for these videos. I don't know, if you guys have any better ideas, let me know. And I'm obsessed with coffee, obviously. Anybody who knows me knows that I have a Starbucks glued to my hand, but anyway, if you want to know what kind of Starbucks I'm drinking today, it's an iced soy latte with 2 pumps of hazelnut and cinnamon powder over the top. And if you haven't tried it, it's freaking amazing. Anyway, alright, yeah, so let's just get right into the video. I really wanted to explain what a color fill is. So, like I said, I feel like I didn't really learn a lot about what a color fill is, so if you kind of are on that same boat, then definitely like this video, and I'll do my best to hopefully explain it in a way that I feel like makes sense to me, and, hopefully I explain it well. But basically, a color fill is adding in the pigments that aren't in the hair anymore, because the hair's been lightened, or it's even naturally light, and the person wants to go darker. The process of a color fill is basically the opposite of if you were to lighten the hair. So when you're lightening the hair, you are removing all of the pigment from the hair. And when you remove all the pigment from the hair, you have to pass all of these different stages of warmth. So if you're removing pigment from the hair starting at my level, which is a 4, then you're removing whatever the underlying warmth level of that level, you're removing all of that. So basically, if you were to remove the pigment starting with my level, a level 4, you'd be passing the first level that you don't always see it in the foil, because by the time you check the foils, you've already passed all of these stages of warmth. But the very first color and warmth stage that you pass is red, and then it goes into the dark orange, and then medium orange, light orange, and then dark yellow, medium yellow, pale yellow. So it's kind of you have to pass all these different stages of warmth, and then when you get into the lighter levels, you start not having to pass through red. So when you're at a level 6, you don't have any red to pass through. Now you're just passing through the orange tones and the gold tones. When you're lightening the hair, you have to pass and basically remove, because that's what lightening is. You're completely removing all of the pigment in the hair, and you're not just removing brown. The underlying pigment in brown is red, orange, gold, so you're removing all of that. That's what the color fill is. The color fill is the opposite of that. So whether you've lightened your hair previously and removed all of that previous pigment, or you're naturally like a blonde and you want to go darker. No matter what, like, you still have to apply those colors back into the hair, because somebody who's a blonde naturally or somebody who's a blonde because they've been previously lightened doesn't have any reds in their hair. And in order to be a dark shade like this, you have to have those colors. And these colors are here for a reason. Like, it's so that your hair color is like a very rich tone. It doesn't have like a flat color to it. So let's say like you didn't do a color fill, and you just, you know, on somebody who's very blonde, previously lightened blonde or natural blonde, and you just put like 4N over their head, and you didn't do a color fill, or 5N over their head or something, like just put one color, darkened it without doing a color fill. The reason why that doesn't work well is because the color is going to be a very flat color, which means like there's going to be no tone of warmth in the underlying pigment of that new artificial color. And so it's just going to look very, very flat, and like the tone of it, in a lot of cases, the hair can just turn green because there's no red in the hair to cancel out this green color that wants to push its way through. But even if the hair is not like green right off the bat, like, it will be the undertone in the hair. So right now, I don't have red hair, but my undertone in my hair is red because I have that hair color, like it's the proper hair color. But the undertone in the color, that if you were to do it the wrong way and not do a color fill, the undertone in this color would be like a mucky greenish tone, which is a really flat color to have. It's not a nice color. It's a very like muddy, mucky, greenish, swampy kind of a tone. Like, you don't want somebody to have a swampy brown color. So even though people don't like to have red tones in their hair, you can, you know, alter the red tones that you've added in with the color fill to cancel out all the red tones. And it's like a little bit of a interesting process when you put it like that. Like, you're adding the warm reddish tones into the hair to now just cancel them because the client doesn't want to see red hair. But the process and the science behind how color works, you can't really work against science. So like, whether the client wants to see red tones in their hair or not, it doesn't matter. You still have to add red into the hair. And like I said, you can always cancel the reddish tones with an ash, and that you're not going to be left with like a mucky, weird, you know, color, because you've added in the warm tones underneath, and then canceling the warm tones, you're still going to have like a nice rich color out of it. It won't be like an empty flat color. It's kind of hard to explain unless you see what I'm talking about, but like, I'll search the internet and try to put up a picture like of the kind of like swampy color that I'm talking about. But yeah, to avoid, you know, having your client have this weird color, and also if you don't do a color fill, the brown color that you just put over the blonde is just going to wash right out, and they're going to start to see that blonde peeking through again, and they're not going to see a nice pretty blonde peeking through. They're going to be seeing like a really ashy with a greenish tone blonde peeking through. So it's just not flattering. But anyway, like I said, I feel like in school and even in the salon, like when you're just starting to learn how to do color, the biggest thing you're learning is how to do, you know, single process, maybe gray coverage, and how to do highlights. Like, obviously that's like the big money maker. Everybody wants to know how to do highlights and balayage and stuff. And so that's like the most like taught thing. But then I feel like it's very, very rare that people learn how to just reverse the process now and do a color fill. And it's just such an important process to know how to do. So, yeah, so the color fill process is very important, but it adds all of that warm pigment back into the hair, and you're left with like a pretty rich color of brown. And I always ash my hair out, and like in the fall time, I don't mind any reddish tones in my hair because it's fall, like it's overcast outside, you don't really even see the red in my hair. But in the summertime, I like to cancel the red in my hair and make it like ashier, because in the summer you can really see my, like, naturally I'm like have red tones. Anybody with brown hair naturally has red tones, but I feel like I have like a decent amount of red tones in my hair. So I don't like to see that when the sun hits my hair, or like maybe my hair is a little frizzy if the sun is like shining through my hair, it's like orange. So I don't like that. So in the summer I'll cancel it, but then you don't really see that in the, you know, fall time, so I don't care. But yeah, so like anybody who has brown hair has reddish tones in their hair. But yeah, like you're not really taught that in school or even in the salon, like how to go back darker. So that's kind of why I wanted to come out with these color fill videos, because I feel like there's like a demand for them. Like, it's a confusing process, especially when you're learning, especially when it's like a lot of newer like colorists and stylists, they're learning the concept of how to do color, and they're learning how to do color, but like they still don't really understand the color wheel. And I feel like it even took me like a while to figure it out when I was learning like a million years ago. But the color wheel is like, it's pretty basic, but it's also, it's a little bit like confusing, you know what I mean, to kind of learn the color wheel. But once you get it, you get it. And that's kind of like why when you're doing a color fill and you're adding in the reds and the oranges and the golds back into the hair, the reason why it's not scary to add, I mean, I know it's scary to add red and orange into somebody's freaking hair, but I'm saying, like, if you understand and have faith in the color wheel, there's no reason to be afraid of that, because you know what cancels out those warm tones. So if you're adding in red and orange and gold into somebody's hair as a color fill, and now you're on and you're ready for the next step, which is going to be canceling all those color fill colors. Now you know, if you know the color wheel, you know what to cancel with. So the opposite of red is green, the opposite of orange is blue, and the opposite of gold is violet. So now you want to figure out how to cancel those. And this is you're only canceling the tones purposefully this much if a client's like, I don't want to see any red. But if they're like, no, I like a little bit of a warm color, then maybe you can add like a neutral into these ash tones to not fully cancel out this color fill, you know? You can just cancel it out somewhat or minimize some of the warmth. But if somebody is like, I want to get rid of this red, like, we're just filling the hair with red, gold, and orange, just, you know, to do this color fill process, but now we're ready to like totally cancel it out because my client doesn't want to see any red or orange. So now you know you want to use an ash that has the underlying pigment in the ash that is green and blue, and then you would add like a violet too, you know? So like, let's just like use my hair as an example. If I was blonde and I wanted to go to a color that's my level, like no matter like what color blonde I was. So if I'm like at a level 10 and I'm like super lightened, or if I'm at a level 7, or if I'm at a level 8 or 6 or whatever, no matter like where you're starting with, it doesn't matter where you're starting with when it comes to a color fill, because the goal is the most important. The goal is a level 4. And so my rule of thumb with color filling is you always want to color fill 2 levels lighter. And it's very rare that I color fill lighter than that, depending on the porosity of the hair and how damaged the person's hair is. But usually it's always 2 levels lighter. So in my case, if I was super blonde and I wanted to go to a level 4, I would color fill with a level 6, you know, no matter what. And I always color fill with a demi-permanent. So I love Matrix Color Sync demi-permanent. I always color fill with that. And I would use a level 6. So because my underlying pigment in a 4, or anybody's underlying warmth pigment in a level 4, is red, orange, and gold, but it's not like a ton of red. It's enough red that it's trying to like explain it in a way that's not super confusing, because it's a little bit easier to explain it when I'm showing it overlaying a video that I'm doing the hair, you know? So it's like, if you can picture it, hopefully this isn't confusing, but if the underlying pigment in a level 4 is red, orange, and gold, and then there's more red underlying in the pigment, there's more red in the underlying pigment in a level like 2 versus a level 4. So you don't want to add like tons and tons of red if you're just doing a level 4. You just want it to be in the formula enough so that it's in the formula, because it's the most important part. You cannot make somebody's hair, if you're doing a color fill, you can't skip red, because the client's like freaking out, like, I don't want to see red. You can't skip the red. If you're going to a level 4, they have to be open to letting you put red on their hair, because when you're gonna do your second color and now it's time to make them the dark brown, the level 4, you don't want their hair to start pulling the green color. So the only way that you're going to avoid the hair pulling the green color is having red in the hair if you're going that dark. you don't have to worry about the green color. If you're in the level like light brown, if you're only darkening the client's hair to a light brown, you don't have to add red into the hair because you don't have to worry about any greenish tones popping up because they're only going to be at a light brown, because the underlying pigment in a light brown is orange and gold. There's no red really, you know? So, but if your client wants to be a level 4 or darker, you have to have red in the hair. But my point is with this, and that's why I'm trying not to be like confusing about it. My point is because a level 4 is at the lighter levels, so 1 to 4, like level 1 is black, level 2 is natural black, level 3 is darkest brown, and level 4 is dark brown. You're 4 levels away from black, like 3 or 4 levels away from black. So it's not the darkest level in the chart, you know? So, but it still needs red. So as long as you have a little bit of red, you're fine. So I'll typically, when I'm doing a level 4 color fill, I'll typically add like 1/4 to 1/2 ounce of red in my formula. But sometimes I don't even add 1/2 ounce of red. Sometimes I just do 1/4 ounce of red, because I don't want the red underlying in the pigment to be too overwhelming of a red, because I don't want to have to worry about canceling it out later, you know? But as long as it's in the formula, that's the most important thing, because any amount of red in the formula is going to prevent the color from turning green. So, long-winded, I know, but it is kind of like that much of a process. And then, like I said, we would be color filling at a level 6, so majority of the formula would be a copper, because that is the most amount. That's what's in the level 4 majority. It's like a red-orange is the underlying tones. But like I said, as long as you have the red in enough, you'll be fine. Yeah, so if you make majority of your formula copper, then you're going to be completely fine. And then the rest of the formula is going to be gold. So like I would say for my hair, if I was going to be filling and I wanted this type of color, then I would fill with a level 6 copper gold. Well, in Matrix Color Sync, copper comes with gold. So like in Matrix Color Sync, it's level 6 copper gold. So I would do like 1.5 ounces, 6 copper gold, and then like a 1/4 to 1/2 ounce of 6R, or like 6RB or something. RB, I would say I mix it with like an RB, because I feel like it's definitely like you're safer doing it with an RB because it's less red. The brown is in the RB to kind of help mask the red a little bit. It'll just be easier to cancel it later. But it really depends. I might do an R if the person is starting with like super bleachy light hair and they like are really lacking the red pigments, and I might just do R, you know. But it really just depends. But yeah, so you definitely want to make most of the formula copper so that you don't have to worry about canceling it. And then once you do the color fill, and then so you apply it to like only the blonde. So let's say like I have like my root is grown out and now I'm bleach blonde on the ends and I'm going to do the color fill. You only want to apply this color fill formula to where it's blonde. You don't have to worry about the roots, because the roots already have red, orange, and gold in the underlying pigment of their natural hair. Unless they're naturally blonde and they don't have a dark root. If they're naturally blonde, or if they're naturally a lighter color, like a light brown, and they don't have their underlying pigment in their hair as a red, orange, you know, you have to do the color fill on that hair also. But it's a little bit more rare, because I feel like people who want to go darker are like naturally dark and they've lightened their hair a bunch and now they want to go back to their natural or something like that. Then you would most likely just be putting it like on the ends. But yeah, like I really hope like I hope this isn't freaking confusing and I'm going off on like a tangent. I'm gonna try a straw because I keep eating ice. And my camera keeps overheating, so that's fun. But anyways, I know it's kind of confusing, but the concept of a color fill is you're adding in all of the warm tones that are lacked in the hair. Especially if the hair has been previously lightened, then their cuticle is empty. So like when you're removing the pigment from the hair, you're completely emptying the cuticle of pigment. So when you're applying the color fill back onto previously lightened hair, it's actually really conditioning for the color, because now you're filling the cuticle back in with all of these colors and tones that the hair doesn't have in the hair. So it's just really conditioning of a process. That was like one question that I answered in my last Q&A video. Somebody was like, what if I have damaged hair? Is this color fill going to damage my hair more? And absolutely not. If anything, it's the complete opposite, and it's going to help the condition of your hair, because it's going to fill in your cuticle with color molecules, and it's just going to like smooth down your cuticle and add a lot of shine. And the Demi Permanent with Matrix Color Sync is completely ammonia free, so it's super conditioning. It's not a conditioner, but it's conditioning. So it's kind of like a satisfying process to do a color fill, because you're filling the hair with like really nice tones. And I always give like a disclaimer to my clients, like if they need to do a color fill, if they need that as a service, I'm always like, so if you want to go darker, we have to do it in 2 steps, and the first step is called a color fill, and basically I have to add in like certain warm tones to darken your hair to make the color come out really nice. So I have to add in like reds and oranges and golds. You don't have to go through and explain this to your client, but I like to, because I like to do hair at my station. It's in front of a mirror. They're gonna see these red and orange freaking colors popping through, and I just would rather give a disclaimer, But if you're at a station that doesn't have, and even if you're at a station that doesn't have a mirror, I don't know, like your client can go to the bathroom at any point and just look in the mirror and freak out, you know what I mean, because they have orange hair. So I kind of just like to explain to my client really quickly and confidently. You want to make sure you're saying it confidently. Just so you know, the first step is called a color fill, and that requires me, and that is basically where I add all of the warm tones back into your hair that your hair doesn't have anymore because it's so light. So we have to add in reds and coppers and golds, so that the hair color comes out really pretty in the end. But don't worry, I'm going to be canceling all of those colors with my next color, because the second color is this really pretty brown color that is actually your gold color. So first we have to add in the warm colors, and then we're going to cancel them all out. So once we start adding this color fill color on, you're going to start to see like oranges peeking through and like red, and just don't worry about it though. I promise it's going to be all canceled out, So I just feel like explaining it a little bit to your client. I have to keep tapping my camera because it wants to shut off because it's overheating. But anyways, once I feel like if you just quickly explain that to your client, they're like, okay, yeah, sounds good. And then if they start seeing the freaking copper and red peeking through, they won't be so like surprised and worried about it, because you've already told them that you're going to be canceling it and covering it, That is like what is a color fill. That's what it is. You're adding in all of the warm tones back into the hair that the hair doesn't have anymore. And if they're naturally blonde, the hair doesn't have that naturally. So you're adding in all of the warm tones so that when you do your second color, which is actually like your really pretty gold color, you're not going to have any worries about having like a flat, mucky, greenish, muddy tone. You're going to have like a beautiful, rich tone of brown, and it's going to last you like a long time, because when your hair's cuticle is, when it's completely empty like that, when the person has blonde hair, not naturally blonde, it's not empty when you have natural blonde hair, because that is your natural pigment, and natural blonde hair has an underlying warm pigment in it. Even though it looks blonde, it's still underlying in the pigment. Naturally you have the orange and gold, but I'm talking, or like gold in a lot of cases if you're super light, but how rare is that for somebody to have like natural bleach blonde hair? But like if they're naturally blonde, they're usually at like a level 7, or like even an 8 sometimes, but like 7, and they definitely have orange underlying in their tones. But if they've been previously lightened before, then they don't have any of that. And so it's just really necessary to add that back into the hair so that you're left with like a really pretty, full, rich color, and it won't fade out right away. If the hair's cuticle is like, if they've been previously lightened before, then their cuticle is empty of any of the color molecules and pigments. So if you do the color fill first, and you fill the cuticle in with all of these warm tones that it's lacking, and then now you're doing your second color, which is going to be like the pretty brown color, those pigment molecules have something to actually latch onto in the hair's cuticle, and that's why the color ends up not fading out right away if you're doing a color fill. If you're not doing a color fill and you're just throwing on like a brown color, it's gonna fade out in like a week or like a couple shampoos, because that color didn't have any color molecules in the cuticle to like latch onto, so it just wants to wash right out, But if you put the color fill on it and fill the cuticle with all of these lacked pigments, then that second color is going to have all these color molecules to latch onto, and it's just going to last you so much longer. Like, probably if they're maintaining their color with really nice products, and they're washing their hair with like a warmish temperature, and it's not too hot, and they're just like maintaining it really, really well, then it should last like the full 6 to 8 weeks. Like, they shouldn't be seeing blonde peeking through. In rare cases would they be like seeing that. Like, if the client's before level was super, super bleachy, damagey blonde, then it's possible that you might need another color fill process when they come back to get like a refresh. But if their hair wasn't like totally damaged and you did this color fill process, you should only have to do it this first time initially when they're going dark. That next time when they come back after like 6 to 8 weeks or something, their hair should be the same. You shouldn't have like a bunch of blonde peeking through. The richness in the brown would have just faded a little bit, but it should not go all the way back to blonde, because that's the whole point of the color fill as well, is to help this color last as long as possible. And of course, all color fades after a while, but it's not going to fade all the way out like that. It's going to just, the richness of it is just going to dull out, and they're going to want to get refreshed again and stuff like that. But the color fill is going to prevent it from just like fading all the way out. So it should last like 6 to 8 weeks, which is just like a normal color, you know what I mean? And the next time when they come back, you just have to assess like what tones are peeking through, because sometimes like a warmer tone would peek through, but for the most part, you just want to put on that brown color and just refresh the brown, maybe add a little pinch of ash in their color or something like that, but you won't need as much ash this next time when they come back to refresh. You won't need to do like that like heavy ash toner to cancel all the color fill colors, because you're not going to have as much warmth peeking through. It's not going to be like, you're not going to be applying the second color on top of straight up orange reddish hair. You're going to be applying this color on brown hair that has just dulled out a little bit and maybe have some warm tones peeking through. So it's just, you're going to have to adjust your formula for when they come back to do the refresh. But yeah, it'll definitely help the color completely last for you, Yeah, like I just really wanted to come out with this video and hopefully explain in detail a little bit more surrounding like the whole color fill process. I hope me going off on tangents and ranting wasn't too confusing, because I know you can't actually see it being done. I'm just like explaining, like what levels and stuff people are in the circumstances that I'm explaining, but like I hope it wasn't confusing. But yeah, I just wanted to like address that question like more just fully, like what is a color fill, how you do a color fill, and then like depending on what client you have and what starting level they are, like the color fill formula will adjust every time. Like it just depends on on what their goal is, and you just have to know the color wheel, and you just have to know, and just like pull it up on your phone. If you have a client, like I don't always remember like the exact underlying pigments of every single like level, you know what I mean? So just pull it up on your phone if you're like unsure or whatever. But if somebody wants to be a light brown, you want to fill their hair with 2 levels lighter of whatever their goal is. So if somebody wants to be a light brown, you want to fill their hair with a level 8, and you just want copper and gold so literally 8 CG. That's it. That's all you fill the hair with, 8 CG. If they want to be a level 6, which is a light brown. And so it's just like, it can be like a simple process. I know it's kind of seeming a little bit confusing. It just gets maybe a pinch more detailed when you're starting to get into the darker levels, because you have to now add this third tone in, which is red. And that's the scariest tone. I think red's scarier for people than orange. But yeah, don't be afraid of it. Like, definitely trust the process, trust the color wheel. Trust the process, because it's science, and that's kind of what we are, like chemists in a way, You just have to trust the science. Like, green cancels red, so if you have red in the hair, you want to tone it with an ash, and make sure that ash is a green underlying, tone in that ash color, because if you're canceling somebody with an ash that is a blue ash, then it's just going to minimize the warmth of the red. It's still going to minimize it, but it's just not going to like fully cancel it. So just have to know like what underlying tone in the color you're actually putting on as well. Like Like, for example, Matrix Color Sync has one of their newer tones. It's called Jade, and it's like, it's NJ, so it's like 6NJ, 6 neutral jade. And I love that tone. I'll pinch that tone into a lot of my formulas if the client pulls red, because jade is underlying tone and jade is green. And so it's just, you want to be careful with it because it could be a very strong tone. But a lot of times, you know, if you know what the underlying tone is of the ash color, like, you're safe, you know, just trust the process, know the color wheel. Don't let anybody confuse you either. I know sometimes in a salon, we like to consult with our, you know, coworkers and stuff and ask them, like, hey, like, what tone do I cancel it with, blah, blah, blah. But, like, everybody that you work with, even, everybody's at different levels. Like, don't let anybody confuse you and accidentally tell you something that they think is so true, but really it's not true. Like, I know I've seen that happen in salons myself, where somebody new will come along asking a question because they're in the back room and they're just like, hey, I have a client, like, what tone do I use to cancel this tone out, you know? And then the stylist will answer the question, and it's like they're so confident on their answer, but it's like they're wrong. So I don't want you to be, like, confused. So just look up the color wheel and look at the chart, and if whatever is the opposite color, so, like, if you're canceling red, the opposite color red is green. If you're canceling orange, the opposite color is blue. And this is, like, what I'm talking about, like, this one circumstance that I'm talking about. Like, a newer stylist was learning how to do color in my salon, and she was asking me, like, how do you cancel, or she was doing, like, a fashion color on somebody's hair, and she was making them purple, and the client was lifting, like, super orange. And I said, you know, just put the purple on, it'll minimize that orange completely. But if you feel like it's still a little bit too orange, and you're not sure if this violet is gonna cancel out this orange, and she had already done, like, a toner on the hair. Sorry, my camera overheated again. But yeah, so where was I? She had already done a pre-toner or a pre-tone, pre-glaze, whatever, because whenever you do fashion colors, you always want to, like, clean your canvas. So when you lighten it, you want to do a quick pre-tone and get rid of any warmth, so that when you do your fashion color, you don't have to worry about your fashion color canceling out tones. You know, you want that fashion color to take nice and vibrant. So, like I said, she had already done a pre-toner, the hair was still kind of orangey, and she was doing a violet color, and she was afraid that the orange would be kind of peeking through the violet. And I was telling her, like, just if you are worried about the orange peeking through, you know, put the violet in the bowl. You know, I said blue is very close to violet, and blue cancels orange, so why don't you just make majority of your formula your violet color that you want, and then just pinch a little bit of that blue color, like that pretty vibrant blue color. It's so close to the violet that you're literally not even going to see it on the hair, but it's just, I said, just pinch a little tiny bit of that blue color in your violet formula, and that will be enough to act as a cancellation of the orange color that's peeking through. And I was trying to give her my advice because she asked me, you know, I was just, like, in the back room minding my own business, like washing one of my bowls, and she was, like, asking me, and I just gave her that advice. Just add a little pinch of the blue to avoid the orange, you know, or to cancel the orange. And one of my coworkers just totally interrupted the conversation, was like, no. She was like, and that's what I mean, like, don't let anybody confuse you, because some people think they know everything and they're, like, super confident, but then they're wrong, you know. So look it up for yourself, you know. But she was like, she interrupted us, and she was like, no. She was like, blue and orange make green. She was like, no, blue and orange make green. And I was like, no, they don't. They cancel each other, which means they make a neutral, which means they make a brown. Like, they cancel each other. They don't make green. I said blue and yellow make green, not blue and orange. And she was like, no. She's like, blue and orange make green. And I was like, no, they don't. Like, pull it up on a color wheel. Like, they absolutely do not make green. Blue and yellow make green. And she was like, do it on a mannequin head and see what happens. I was like, I don't have to do it on a freaking mannequin head. Like, the color wheel is right here. It's the opposite. That's what it cancels. So it neutralizes it. And then she kind of, like, walked out of the back room because I wasn't like, you know, giving in to that, because it was wrong. And then I just told the girl I had previously talked to, I was just like, you know, honestly, don't take anybody's word for it. Just, you know, look at the color wheel and look it up. Whatever's the opposite of the color wheel, you know, because I'm telling you that this is correct advice, you know, but this girl is also telling you that this is correct advice. And it's not like she was wrong, I was right. But it's like, I don't want anybody to be like confused if they're still learning. So like, don't let any of your coworkers like confuse. I told this girl, I said, you know, just look at the color wheel, you can see it for yourself, but you know, just when you're asking people for for like advice, just don't let anybody confuse you, you know. But I told, she took my advice and it ended up being perfect, and the hair was like a perfect, you know, violet, a really strong tone of violet, and there was no orange peeking through at all. But that's just like what I'm saying, like, don't let anybody confuse you. Like, really trust in the science of the color wheel, because if you're wondering, if you have a client sitting in your chair and you're trying to figure out how to cancel red, just pull the color wheel up and look at the opposite. It's green. Like, you don't have to ask anybody, like, it's green. So just, maybe you can ask somebody if you really, really need to, but if you know, like those big, like those really, okay, I'm trying to like explain this. Like, you definitely want to ask your coworkers for help. I'm not like saying that, because it's super important to brainstorm with each other and consult with each other, especially if you have a corrective color, you know, like, it's definitely good. I'm not trying to say that, but I'm just trying to say, like, also do your own research and don't always take everybody's word for it, because you just don't know how experienced people are, even though, like, this person that was totally wrong had been doing hair for a long time, for like 10 years. Like, you would think by now she knew her color wheel, but I don't know what it was that she was confused about, but she was confusing a new stylist who was trying to learn. And like, the color wheel is the most basic concept of color. Like, that's the first thing you need to learn when you're doing hair, is your color wheel and your levels and your underlying pigments in all the levels. Like, those are like the basic things. And anyway, I'm trying to explain, like, so I definitely ask your coworkers and like consult with people, but do your own research, in the sense that, like, a lot of these color lines, all the color lines come with their own literature. So like, in your salon back room or your color bar, you should have like this big binder, you know, with all the different swatches, and a lot of times it'll show on the swatches like the underlying tone of the color. Like, you know what I mean? It'll have like a little bit of like a guide on like what the underlying tones are in each color tone. I like, even better than the books, they have like, all the color lines have these like big posters with all of the swatches like laid out for you, like all the different levels and all the different swatches, like it's printed onto this like big paper. But I like those better than the books, because you can just like see it all at once. At the same time, you can kind of like look through, and when you get to like the certain color that you're looking for, a lot of times it has whatever the underlying tone is. Like, it'll say like I know Shades EQ has like blue violet. It'll tell you like the ashes. It'll say like, this ash is a green tone or this ash is a blue tone. Like, it'll kind of like explain it to you, the swatch books or like this big piece of paper. You'll see it for yourself. So like, if you need to cancel red and you realize on the color wheel, oh, like green cancels red. Okay, now you have to figure out which color in your color bar is green or has a green tone in it to help you cancel that red. So then you go to the swatch book or you go to that big piece of paper and you realize, oh, okay, all right, so Matrix Color Sync has jade, and jade, the underlying color and tone in jade is green. So okay, so maybe I'll use the jade for canceling out my red. And like I said, you have to know that certain tones are super strong, so you wouldn't mix that, like you don't want to mix it as like your entire color. You want to mix it into like a neutral or into a gold or like into some kind of color. But I'm just saying, like the swatch books and the literature for all the different color lines are there for a reason. They're there so that you can like know exactly what you're putting on somebody's hair. Like, for example, Shades EQ, they have like 9V, which is violet, 9B, which is blue. You know, like they have in their color line a blue, which is just right there. So like they separate, instead of like how Color Sync has just all like the ash tones, and then depending on like what level of ash you pick has the underlying pigment of what you need. But like in Shades EQ, it kind of separates it a little bit more. So just like, it'll help you like know which shade to pick and stuff like that. Basically, like, just know your color wheel, know your charts and literature, and just trust the process. So just trust the process. And it could definitely be scary to do a color fill in a way, because you're adding all these reds and oranges onto the hair. But if you trust the process, it's way less scary. And it's kind of like any color can be scary, you know. A lot of people feel like it's scary to do blonde, you know. I knew of a girl one time, she washed her highlights off really, really soon because like the second it started to change and start to lighten, she got like scared, you know. It's definitely a scary process to do hair, so like even practice on a mannequin head or something. It could definitely be like a scary process to do color in any respect, like whether you're darkening it and doing a color fill, or whether you're going lighter and going blonder, or whether you're doing like a full-on color transformation, you know. But as long as you trust the color wheel and you have a nice idea of like the tones that are in your arsenal, you know, like in your arsenal at your color bar, like all the different levels and tones, and you know your color wheel and you know what's going on, like you can put all the pieces together, but like trust the process. I guess I'll end the video here because I don't want it to be too long, but you know, I hope like my explanation of color fill and giving a little bit of scenarios, I really hope that all helps, and I hope it's not confusing. But like definitely leave me any questions that you have down in the comment section below because I will definitely answer them. I really hope you guys got a lot out of this video. I hope that this was all really helpful for you and my explanations of it weren't too confusing, but yeah, I really hope this was helpful. Definitely leave me any comments you have down below in the comment section and I will definitely answer them. And you know, you'll probably check out like any of my future Q&A videos, because if I don't get a chance to like answer you like in the comment section, like I will definitely include your question at some point in one of my Q&A videos. So definitely leave me any questions you have in the comment section, and subscribe to my channel, especially if you want to see more, you know, color videos or hair videos. And give this video a big thumbs up if you are liking these Q&A videos, and like I said, I really hope you enjoyed it. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram. It's at Maxine Glynn. I post all of my formulas in the written out form on my Instagram, so definitely follow me for that. I like to write out my formulas on my Instagram post because I just feel like when it's attached to the picture of what the color was, it's just a nice tool to like refer to if you are, you know, using it as a tool for your clients and stuff. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!
I won't make it easy for you now. You got 2 minutes of my time, and I don't really break too easily, but I'm worth it, 'cause I'll slip into your dreams tonight. Oh, so give me your all. I'll take it to Mars. Oh, I'll stick like glue inside your mind. Just watch me breathe.